What's going on, creators? Yeah, just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. I also appreciate your support and all that kind of like financial stuff. Try to get more mindful about like being expressing more gratitude. I know people have like supported me in the past, and I had my own like hangups and reasoning, I guess, where I was just like ignoring that, mainly because my mindset is God provides, so you know and that was like kind of the thing. But individual provides through individuals that have taken time to do that. And so I just wanted to say thank you again, and moving forward, just continuing on, just like the mental diet, is really the thing about diets. A lot of people get this thing with like food diets where it's like you do some temporary thing to achieve a result. But as far as I'm concerned, like diets and just a way of being, it's kind of the same thing. It's, how much attention are you gonna focus your energy and everything on the dystopian narrative that seems to be pretty prevalent, at least here in the United States. It's mostly just through a screen at this point. It's like you go to the grocery store, where I live, pretty much back to normal, except the propaganda going over the intercom that most people, I don't know, anymore. I just kind of focus on my own self, and having just gotten over having COVID. This whole thing's a fucking joke, and like, I've had hangovers worse than COVID, to be honest with you. It's like the biggest thing is the hysteria and the spell aspect of it, where I think that's actually why people end up getting like spiraling out, where they just, for like people that haven't had like experience with like weed and edibles, it's like, sometimes that shit is so intense. Like, it's like, oh, it's like you'll survive it. People don't die from like weed overdoses, but like you take some like these strong edibles, and next thing you know, you're thinking it's like, it's like, oh, I might not be having an overdose, but I'm just like a grown man. I could just be having a fucking heart attack. And then you start freaking out and freaking yourself out and telling yourself these stories about how you're dying. And and then I think a lot of that has to do, with people freaking out when they get COVID, and then all of a sudden, oh, I got a stuffy nose. My biggest symptoms were just like nasal congestion. That's about it. It's just, I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell or anything. It was really mild. I was actually really thankful it happened the way it did, because not only did I get it, my stepdaughters got it, and, their boyfriends, the whole fucking shit show with that. But at the same time, it was nice to be able to get this shit and show them not to be afraid, and get through it. And and now we have natural immunity against this shit, which, if the world was real, 99.9999% of people that just recover from this thing and have natural immunity should be the ones who are like, hey, if you're healthy and it doesn't bother you, try to get this shit so you can, get this herd immunity, if that's even real. But like, what do I know? As you know, I'm not an expert. Listen to the experts that just tell you to, don't tell you to take care of yourself and your mind, and do the shit that doctors always used to tell you, to quit smoking, quit drinking, eat right, stop living in chronic stress and anxiety, stop staring at your fucking phone and being hypnotized, and living in a dystopian reality that isn't really a reflection, at least where I'm from, where I'm at, where I live. As I've unplugged from this oh, I'm connected to the world narrative, being on the internet and shit, and like taking on this worldly mentality of like, oh, what's going on in Europe and what's going on in this, and it's like, who gives a fuck? And no offense to people living in these other places, but hopefully, people start living in their own communities a little bit more because of this. Where it's like, at least where I'm at, I'm seeing a lot more farmers markets, more small business opportunities, I guess. People are like making their own soaps and gardens and stuff like that. And from my perspective, I got a local business, and like I have one employee now that's doing great. I was able to, during the quarantine, I stayed at home. I didn't want to infect my neighbors, because I did have, and my family had this thing, and so I don't want to pass that along and spread this shit or whatnot. So I stayed at home. Still at home. This is like pretty much my last day. This is like I think the 10th day. This is what they said. And I'm not really planning on going. I'm gonna order some pizza and just chill. My wife and stepdaughter there. Um, yeah, everybody's just like we're just gonna get some pizza and chill and just wait the thing out till Monday and just get back to normal. But during this whole thing, I was able to orchestrate with my employee just through texting. He was able to do jobs and collect the money, put it in the bank, and all this kind of shit. And like it's been really I don't know, nice to be able to rely on somebody, which I haven't done, for years. Really have like a jailhouse mentality and not done trusting anybody type thing or trusting any person and shit like that. But like ultimately my trust in God has allowed me to start trusting people. As wild as that might sound, but it's like really just like trusting that God brings the opportunities and the people, and just like kind of to walk through it in a way that is a lot more peaceful. And that was like the thing with COVID and like dealing with like the symptoms as they escalated through a couple days. Just to be able to hold on to that presence and like that it's only ever now kind of mentality, and like when these things would happen, not to start freaking out with fear and hysteria because of the spell that's been kind of put out there, of like, oh, you're going to get sick, you're going to end up in the hospital, you're going to be on a ventilator, you're going to die. It's like, that's like maybe 1% of people, and I think a lot of that has to do with the hysteria, like I said, with like with weed, and having too much edibles, you start sitting there freaking out. I think for the ones that have brainwashed themselves with this media narrative and believe all the symptoms and believe all of these worst cases and this shit can happen to them, and that spell, just starts to increase the fear. And then next thing what would, if you didn't have the label of the diagnosis of the tests and all this shit, more than likely you would have just continued on with your normal day-to-day things, just blowing your nose more and just drinking water and just feeling kind of felt like having like a 6 or 7 beer hangover. Just kind of just you're not 100%. But then I noticed too. I was like not really eating a bunch. And I think part of that is my wife's on this real health food kick and all natural organic stuff, and it's just I like to have some junk food like pizza rolls and like fast food and shit. And she's like real into eating healthy, and yeah. But at the same time, we have like the garden outside, organic tomatoes and whatnot, and all. It just is kind of a lifestyle. We got chickens. I just looked out there today. Still no eggs. The turkey's getting big. Which that's going to be an ordeal. Because we're going to have that turkey for Thanksgiving, and so and I'm going to be the one that cuts its head off and guts it and all this kind of stuff. And so trying to kind of wrap your head around that kind of shit. It's a different kind of vibe, really. And you're watching this flock of birds, you get these people, these nature lover people that never are around nature. It's like it's one of the ironies again. But it's not no different than the rest of the backward shit that goes on in the world. It's just like people are just opposite of what you expect, or like the ones that are doing shit are the ones blaming others of doing what they're guilty of doing. It's just part of the upside down nature of things. It seems like it hopefully is coming to an end. Which that would be great. It's real tired of the clown world aspect of things. It'd be nice to be able to, be able to watch a movie without all the fucking programming and everything. It's just, the idea, that people want to just control and dominate others like that is so fucking mentally ill. It's weird. It's like, oh, and so much of it has to do with people and their fear of death, and it ultimately is, gets people just to do crazy things, and not just like a small amount of people. It makes a lot of people just completely act fucking idiotic, and like and have this kind of hysteria about things, that aren't even real, and like so much of it's like you just want to shake people, and it's just like if you didn't watch the fucking TV, would you have this problem? Is that reflective of your life? What you're afraid of is happening all around you. When it's like what is happening on screens, and it's like, yeah, every state exists, and there's like trauma and fucking terrible places to live and stuff, but ultimately you got to give account for you. Make your town better. It's like stop depending on these politicians and these assholes to do it for you. That's part of the problem. Is this like helpless mentality, this learned helplessness of like, oh, I want to live in a utopia, but I don't want to take a risk and do anything. It's crazy. It's like, like where I'm from at least, and who knows what other governments are like, because things have gotten so crazy just with like the United States government over, and this hasn't just happened. This has been going on. This isn't just like, oh, COVID came out and things went crazy. Nope. This shit has been going on. It's who knows how long it's been going on, but like once you disconnect from the, it's like Neville Goddard would just the world of Caesar, really just get into your Bible. I mean, honestly, the thing of it is, it sounds crazy from the world's perspective to be like, oh, just read your Bible and just do the best you can to kind of go through that. It's amazing how much peace it can bring you when you start applying these things. When maybe you have like something going on, but when you have your faith and it's just like that God's real. It is and nothing happens by accident either. So it's like really sitting there trying to sit there and worry and fucking fret over every little thing that's really not your problem. Some parts of the world, have a consciousness, that reflects, that group consciousness. And even in the United States, that, it appears to, like, all moral authority has been thrown out the window and replaced with just this fucking this insanity. I mean, it just is foolishness, and like it's like, oh, trust the pseudoscience, but at the same time, there's like this cool disconnect of like actual science. It's craziness, and like but it's been going. I mean, it's been like that. I mean, I've been seeing this shit like this, for I don't know, 2016. It was when things, my paradigm of reality got thrown out the window. What is that, 7 years ago? And it starts to become like, the tribulation and end times is only 7 years long. So it's like if you're like 10 years into the end, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's time to change how you're looking at things. Telling yourself a new story, because so much of the problem is the past recreating itself. You keep telling yourself the same stories over and over again of what's going on. Maybe something else is going on, and would it matter if you tell yourself that new story instead? Probably not. It'd probably just make you, happier throughout your day. Not to say that, there isn't like atrocities and fucked up things going on. I see the shit going on in Australia. I feel bad for the people that live there. I don't know why they aren't just like taking this 1% of people making these retarded policies and throw them into the shark infested ocean. It's like, probably because they not having guns, but even so, you hear the mantra of, oh, the common good, the common good. It's like, well, the common good is like the majority of people. So it's like, if 99% of people are unaffected by something, then the common good does not mean what's good for 1% of society. That's crazy, and like all it takes, is, God gives you your freedoms. The man does not. As long as you have this idea that this outer government, this outer out here, is what gives you your pursuit of joy, happiness, freedom, any of that kind of stuff, you're going to be a slave, and you're going to suffer as a result of that. And as soon as you change that though, and realize that God gives you your freedoms, God is the one in charge of things, and following the things that God was telling you, hey, do things like this and this, bring you peace. and then you apply those things, and it's like, oh, I did get peace. It's more, it's a lot of stuff going on inwardly, that I think is like kind of throwing people off, is like looking for this outer, the shadow world to be the source for the love, joy, and peace and happiness and fulfillment in their life, when it's opposite. That comes from within you, and as you embody that, then it reflects out more and more. But part of that is you have to be the one that literally puts it on and tries it out. It's like, you got these fucked up, you know, tyrannical, dystopian things going on, but that can't affect your inner being, unless you give the power to it. It's like, if you stop looking at people like, oh, they're superior, they're up on this pedestal, and you giving your thoughts and your state of being to, oh, this person's superior, and they got power and everything else. If you just like look at them as like just another just talking being, it's like most of what people are, they're just talking into the fucking ether. Most of these you know how long it takes for these political things to pass through legislation. They're just speaking nonsense. And just hoping that people just go along with it. But once you realize that they're just talking into the wind, and that you could just go click and just live your life and raise your family and take care of your responsibilities as a human being, and you don't need their help, things dramatically start to change. I mean, really, it's crazy how fast too, because it's like, as soon as it's not like you got to resist and fight against things and demonstrate in battle. It's just like you just literally just turn the shit off and just go on with your life that God's given you to live. And like, when it comes with like COVID and all this, the fear and hysteria, it's like, look at all that fear and hysteria for what it is. It's energy draining fucking shit, and it's like, in the metaphysical, you got two things going on. You have people that are draining energy and people that are giving you energy, but ultimately that energy comes from within. So if you are not connecting with that from within, you are draining people's energy, and you're no different than, than anything else. It's just like, there's only oneness, when you break it down, but there's this illusion of separation that starts to pollute, and then because you believe in the separation, then all of a sudden you lose track of where fucking life force energy even comes from, and you're like, you start vamping off of other people's energy, and looking, following them, like, go within yourself. I mean, you are just as important as anybody else. It includes any so-called celebrity, or fucking politician or boss, important person, some creator that just made something, that doesn't mean, most of that is shit that you have built up in your mind as being important. It's weird because, it's like a lot of like maybe what the world would consider successful people, are not, on a scale of happiness. You're moving shit around and fucking more responsibilities, and moving money around and fucking paying people and all this doesn't make you any more happy. It just doesn't. And people, if you have that mentality of like, oh, I want to be like them because then I'll be happy. And you sit and you hang on every word that they say, and just like, just like listen to what Jesus said if you want to be happy. Honestly, that's what I found that makes me happy, is like, just that experience of like the supernatural is real. You experience these synchronicities, and the more that you focus in on them, the more they happen, to the point where you have a thought and it immediately manifests a corresponding thing into physical reality. It's crazy, but you can do that for yourself and try it for yourself. I encourage you to try it, and see it for yourself with your own eyes, because this experience is for everybody, and this dystopian, how much shit are you going to, inject into yourself, They call it the vaccine or whatever, but these are just fancy labels. Who knows what that fucking shit is doing? You like to hope it is, but when people are still contracting illness that they're supposed to be immune from some shot, isn't that a fucking wake up call that is not very effective? Why don't you just get the fucking shit and get it over with, and have your God given immunity? But that's part of the illusion. It feels like is the world doesn't want you to connect with any of the God-given aspects of being. They want to write that off as foolishness, and what's not foolish is some fucking doctor, some expert that just is mixing up cocktails of whatever and just trying it out on the population that's willing to do it. And it's like I don't hate or fucking if I have family members that have taken this shot, and it's just like do I want to sit there and just like hope something bad happens to them for doing? Fuck no. It's like, hopefully nothing happens. Hopefully it's just like a placebo, which wouldn't shock me if it was, and like because that's a whole nother thing. If the world was real, placebos wouldn't work. It's funny how little attention that gets, but it's not shocking. But it's also the same amount of attention, E equals MC squared gets when it's like, you live in a simulation, you live a holographic, reality. And it's like that formula that most universities have plastered all over the fucking science wing. Is basically saying that your matter is interchangeable with energy. Which means that you are interchangeable with energy. If you think about it in a different way, but it's just if you really are into the science-minded, quantum science and Tesla science, and check out like Tom Campbell's Big Toe Theory. It's a theory of everything. It's like good luck trying to disprove it. Because you can test it for yourself, and once you realize consciousness is about the only reality. You learn that through experience. This is another way of saying the only reality is God. There's these different labels for talking about the same metaphysical shit, or maybe I shouldn't say shit. Metaphysical, miracle, miraculous, heavenly things, that are happening right here and now. When you're present and aware, and hopefully, through the suffering that's happening in the world, which is self-imposed. It comes from the illusion of separation, and ultimately the belief in that, which the individual aspect of people as being reflections of the divine, as they just believe in this illusion of separation and look at all these things that justify why. Is there separation because my body is doing something weird. I got some and so much of like this thing that I've like realized too is so much of like even the body symptoms are kind of neutral if you're not telling yourself this big drawn out story about it. It's like there's a weird line between pain and pleasure that really starts to become more obvious the more you change the narrative inside yourself, and aren't freaking out about what's happening. You can try to sit there and battle and resist it, or you can almost start to enjoy it in this kind of a weird way, or like accepting it and then letting it go kind of way. Surrendering, and not to say, surrendering such a trigger word with people, and as it is, with me at times, where it's just like, that makes you feel like you let yourself succumb to fear. Well, you're not fear. You transcend the fear, by facing it and realizing that it's an illusion, and part of what's going on as people's fears manifest more and more as this thing progresses, the way it progresses, in this awakening process. Part of this narrative, is redefining, what you look at things as being dystopian and being hopeless, which is what the old man likes to do, is look at everything as being a victim of, and and all that. But the new creation that you are, the new you and your new identity in Christ, you can redefine these things with God. What this means, you can just as easily define it as an awakening, um, because it ultimately is. I mean, as you kind of wake up to who you actually are, your true identity, and that's something you learn experientially. And continuously, different revelations and different understandings and realizations and things as your old mind gets unwound, is basically what's happening in this weird way. You have these external situations and these circumstances and stuff, and it's easy to get carried away with like when you start maybe going down the maybe the law of assumption or law of attraction, to kind of get into these desires of, oh, if I only had a better job, only if I only had a better house, if I only had a better relationship, if I only had this and that, this and that, this and that. Really what you want is to experience love. And like the old mind has these like glimpses where it's tasted it on some level, not really understanding where it came from and what it was about, but it made you feel a certain way, and then you try to sit there and recreate it over and over again in these addictive loops, these patterns, where it's just like, oh well, if it was fun the first time and I felt a specific way, so I want to recreate that. And like through like drug use and drinking and stuff, like, from my experience, it's like, that first time, of like maybe getting drunk, after like maybe years of sobriety, it's like, it's going to be a fucking kick-ass time. It's going to hit you in this it hasn't been like that, before then it starts to, then you start going down this pattern of like, oh, the first time you get drunk, no, it was great, I had this amazing experience, maybe like, fuck some random, person, some sexual encounter too on top of it, and then it's like, oh, okay, that was awesome, and I'm going to try, you're just going to do that every single day, and then you start to do that, and then it's like, then it's just, the next time it's not as fun, then you can't recreate it again. But you keep trying, and and then it just spirals you down and spirals, and then all of a sudden, just like what you don't want starts manifesting more and more, and you're just continuous, getting out of these loops, is really important, and realizing, letting go of the control, is a big deal, because that's part of like the old way of thinking, at least as far as I'm concerned at this point, where it's just like, it feels like the more I try to control things, the less peace I feel in the present moment, because it's like, I don't really know what's happening, and letting, and the egoic kind of consciousness, the old mind, loves to think it knows everything about anything, and oh, I see this event, and I'm going to label it, I'm going to categorize it in this way and that way, and this is good, this is bad, but then getting in more of a kind of mindset of like, God's got the plan, everything is unfolding right now because it's part of this plan. I don't need to control everything. Taking yourself out of the equation a little bit and just allow, the goodness of God to start coming to you. Start feeling more things to be grateful for. Where do you feel that? You feel that in the present moment, getting in more and more stillness and presence. And so just wanted to kind of get on here and ramble for a little bit, kind of share what's been going on with me, and give a little update for those that follow the channel. And, and people were concerned, that because in the previous videos I shared, that, ended up getting COVID and all that, which I'm really thankful it happened. And like, I'm glad just to be done with it. It wasn't that bad. The biggest thing was the prolonged, the days and days and days of like, having like a mild hangover feeling, and then just being in the house for just watching all these streaming services. I didn't really do much as far as like music goes. I think I got a couple tracks out, and then I got an email from a new like a music licensing platform, but they're like breaking more into music. They're more into stock photography and videos and stuff like that. And I got contacted by like a recruiter for them, and ended up seeming like a good deal. And so I was happy about getting some music with them, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, well, it's like but we'll see. And yeah, as far as like what's on the agenda, I think I'm just gonna just chill for the rest of the day. Just this whole weekend, just let things be and just chill and hit normal life back again on Monday. And I got a bunch of work lined up for me and my employee. He's not really an employee though. He's kind of like a contractor, but I'd like to get it to be more of like an employee relationship, employer employee, so like a contractor type thing. But I don't care for all these labels and everything else. It's just it is what it is. And so with that being said, thanks for listening, everybody. If you made it this long, thanks for your support. And other than that, have a good rest of your now, and God bless.